Good afternoon, students. This is the third part of the chapter development, class 10, subject social science. Student, in the second part, we concluded the last topic was national development, where we concluded that like the notion of development for the individual are not same for different persons. Similarly, notion of national development is also different for the different person. Different people may have different opinion. Now from page number 8, there is a heading, how to compare different countries or state. I am starting from there, and again I am starting from the point that if things are not same, if things are different, development means different thing, how we can compare countries with certain prefix adding before the name of the countries. Like you people must have heard so many times that for few countries we used to say that these are developed, few other countries are categorized as the developing one, and few countries are known to be underdeveloped countries. So there must be some criteria. Look, one thing you must understand, that the very basic nature of the human being is to make comparison. We keep comparing between the countries, we keep comparing between ourselves and other students in the classroom, we keep comparing in our offices between our colleagues, we keep comparing our families with our nearby families, neighboring families. So that's the basic nature. And when comparison do take place, two things are likely to be there. One, there are likely to be few similarities, and there are likely to be some differences. uh, Take your class best example to understand. It is not the comparison take place it only in the classroom. As I said, you keep reading in the newspaper that we compare who is better batsman, Virat Kohli or Smith. So this is a comparison, and while making this comparison, certain criteria are taken into consideration. Similarly, take the class to better understand this concept. Take the classroom. When you find yourself in a particular classroom where you are studying right now, you do make your comparison in the class, and you find that certain similarities are there. One, I can assume from the sitting from here, that your uniform, all of you will be having the same uniform in the class. uh, what could be difference? Your height, your skin color, your intelligence, your creativity, your singing talent, and various other criteria could be there in the classroom. And there are no these different kind of abilities are completely different. Maybe class has one of the very studious student, but he might not be felt friendly one to everyone. He prefer to remain aloof from the rest of the class. You may find that there is a very healthy student in the classroom, with very good body and good for sports, but may not be very studious one. Similarly, you may find that the one who can sing very good song and has a very good singing ability may not be also having a very good academic records. So important is not that what abilities are there. We need to consider that what purpose we should consider this criteria. Consider from the point of view of your class teacher. Suppose class teacher has to select the student for the wrestling purpose. So she must not be taking the student who is the studious one. She must be selecting someone who is the healthiest one and can be good competitor in the competition, who can represent class in a good manner. If suppose for a quiz competition or for any other where academics are required, that studious child will be selected because he could be the best person to represent the class. Uh, if a singing competition is there, one who has the best singing talent should be taken over there. What we are wanting to conclude is written in your book in the paragraph. I am reading it for you, that it is written that usually we take one or more important characteristics of persons and compare them based on these characteristics. That's very true. That's the very important thing, that for what purpose, what criteria has to be given importance, and based on that criteria the student in classroom will be compare. Like then teacher, if finalizing the student for the purpose of singing competition, teacher has to listen the sing and decide about the singing ability, and then she can prioritize that this one, student 1 is very good, student 2 is at number 2, student 3 is not so good. So far, uh, different criteria, and based on that purpose of criteria selection, based on that purpose of characteristics, we can make comparison, student. Now another thing is that if these things apply, simply we can compare the countries, and while making the comparison and determining and categorizing those countries into developed, developing and underdeveloped category, we actually take their income as the most important criteria. We believe income is the one thing what can attain or help us to achieve so many things. Income means all the luxury and all the things. That is why income is considered to be the very important criteria. Now question is, what is the income of a country? We can think of that people used to make the earning. So I must be telling you that income of the country is nothing but it is the total earning of all the people in a country, and this earning is probably made in a single year. Student, in the class, same class in chapter number 2, we will be discussing two words, GDP, gross domestic product, and GNP. But I don't want to complicate the things over here. You right now only assume that like in statistics, in mathematics, you use the word sigma. Sigma means the summation of earning of all the people of the country, be it the most rich person of the country. You consider that earning of the Mukesh Ambani shall be added in this category, and earning of a rickshaw puller or any other person who is earning the least in the country. Everyone's earning will be added, and that will be considered as the earning of the country. Now question is, do you agree that the earning gives the correct criteria? Because initially World Bank, which actually make this comparison, has chosen the earning as a criteria, but it is not sufficient. For that I am giving you one example. Please pay attention. Let us compare two families. There is a family A and there is a family B. I am giving you the data. Family A earns 60,000 rupees per month. Family B earns rupees 1 lakh per month. Now my question to all of you is that which family is to be more happy and in possession of all the things? It is not an interactive classroom, but let me tell you, many times with my experience, many times students immediately give the answer, sir, it is B because B is earning more. But for this I am taking another example from your mathematics. In your mathematics, sometime your teacher suppose give you equation and ask you to find the value of variable. One equation I am reading it for you. Suppose your math teacher has said that solve equation 4x plus 5y equal to 20 and find the value of x and y. What would you say? आप लोग कहेंगे कि सर आपका डेटा इनकम्प्लीट है, देयर आर टू वेरिएबल्स, सो देयर हैज़ टू बी टू इक्वेशन ऑल्सो, देन ओनली वी कैन फाइंड the value of x and y. So question was incomplete. So if anybody in this particular example has said that B is a better family, let me say sorry, it is not, because I did not give you the complete data. I did not mention how many members in the families were. Now let me complete my question. In family A, which is earning 60,000 rupees, there are 4 members. It is very ideal small family what India is claiming to have ideal family size. And on the other side, family B, which is earning 1 lakh rupees, is having 10 family members. Now you can find out per person share what it would be. Divide 60,000 rupees by 4, it will be 15,000 rupees per person share. On the other side, 1 lakh rupees divided by 10 person per person share, it will be 10,000 rupees. So you can say family A is better. It is not the criteria of earning, it is also that what is the per person share. That is why to change, the World Bank has changed the criteria from the total earning to the average income of the people, that is called per capita income. Per capita income can be simply defined in a mathematical term, that the total income of the country in a single year. Total income means all the earning of the people in a single year, adding all those earning divided by total population. And population means everyone shall be added, whether person is earning or not, because we all are consumer, right from a child who has taken a birth, an infant I'm talking about. He or she will start making consumption. You will have to purchase various things and articles for him. That is why total population means everybody will be added, but earning means whoever is earning will be added. So this criteria can help us that average earning is taken into consideration. Student, based on this, your book has provided the latest data what World Bank has issued for the year 2017, and on that criteria countries are determined as developed, developing or underdeveloped. Your book has mentioned that in 2017, if any country or countries were earning more than 12,056 US dollar per annum, then or more than that, then it is considered to be developed. If any country or more countries are earning less than 955 US dollar, 955 US dollar or less than that, then it is underdeveloped. And those country which comes in between is called developing one. You people must be knowing that India, as per the record, is now in 2017, as per your textbook, was in the category of 1820 US dollar per annum. It means India do not belongs to the developed category, although our GDP is very high. Interesting fact, please pay attention over here. India is in the category of one of the 4-5 high GDP economy. Our GDP is really very good, remarkable. But student, why we are not into the category of developed? Because our size of population is equally growing very fast, sometimes faster than our GDP growth. That's why our average value is not so high that it can be considered into the category of development. To prove it in a more better manner, what average meanings and how the share of distribution, how the distribution of resources take place. On the next page you have been provided two examples. One example is in a pictorial from where there are two situations. Country with no rich and no poor, you can find that there are 4 chairs and 5 people are occupying that. So you can say that roughly all of them have equal share between them. So this is a better country where resources are distributed evenly. On the other side, there is another picture, country with rich and poor, where you can find on a 4 chair there is a single person. It means he is occupying lot of resources under his control. This person must be the rich man. And on the other side you will find that there is another 4 people, there is remaining 4 people who are occupying only 2 chairs. So it means they did not have adequate resources for their survival. To give it more better shape, there is a data given in table, that is table 1.2, comparison of 2 countries. I am also going through the data and wanting you to draw the conclusion. Look, if you people study the in statistics mean, mode, median, if I am not wrong, and you know how the mean is calculated. Mean is, everybody is interested in the game of cricket. We know that batsman average is calculated on the basis of means, where we add all the runs being made by the batsman and we divide it by the number of times batsman has got out. Agree? Some sort of thing is given over here. Here country A is there, and it has been assumed that in this country only 5 people used to live. This is just a example to help us understand. There is no country where only 5 people live, but country A and country B both have 5 people used to live. You are being given data. If you add all these data and divide by 5, this will come, the average will be coming exactly 10,000 student. Now there is another country, country B, in which you will find the data is for the first 4 person is 500, 500, 500, 500, and the 5th person is 48,000. So again the total will be 50,000. You divide it again by 5, average will be 10,000. So in both A and B, average 10,000 is coming. Does it means average income or per capita income gives us the clear picture? So this is interesting fact. Pay attention please before we move ahead. This is very interesting fact that even average is not a complete I said that take the example of cricket first. You may find it interesting. Suppose we have taken two batsmen into comparison, Rahul Dravid and Viren Sehwag. Viren Sehwag has made 300 in his first inning, and remaining 4 innings he got out on the zero. So while dividing 300 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 divided by 5, we can find his average is 60. On the other side, we found Rahul Dravid has been making sometime 50, sometimes 65, sometimes 55. By this means his total is also coming 300, and he also got out 5 times in a 5 inning. So his average is also 60. You can yourself find out who can be considered more reliable over here. Because you find Rahul Dravid scoring good in every inning, you will be finding him more reliable. Because for Viren Sehwag, you did find one thing, that in a particular inning he can score 300, but in other 4 innings he didn't score as well. Don't take it as a personal thing. Maybe some of you are the die-hard fan of Viren Sehwag, so you might not like this example portraying Viren Sehwag as not the reliable one. Just wanting to explain you, similar kind of examples are shown here in your textbook. Book is wanting you to understand that in these two countries we can easily find that average is also not a very good criteria. If on the basis of average you can say that both these countries are same, but actually not. If suppose you are given a choice in which country you would like to belong to out of these 5 people, I am sure you would not choose country B. The reason? There are high probability of you remaining poor, because 4 person in this country are poor and 1 person is rich and very rich. But in country B, there is every chances that you will remain somewhere close to the status of others, because all are having their monthly income close to 10,000. Little more or little less, that hardly matters. So this gives now another picture that sometime in the first point we said income of the country, but we didn't find that as a suitable. I told you why. Then we find that to meet out better result, to get a better result, we found per capita income or average income, but here we are proving that even that is not sufficient. These are the conclusion I have drawn, considering that you might not be able to draw it yourself. Based on that, few questions are asked, exactly those things are asked what I have explained you. Go through yourself, and when get opportunity, do ask the question to your teacher. Moving to next part, income and other criteria. Student, I think this video has completed around 17 minutes, and I don't want you to continue with the similar approach. In the next video, in part 4, I will start income and other criteria, and I shall take the consideration of the datas, because various things are explained here for the different states of India through the data, through the table. I would suggest that before you open the video part 4 for this chapter, do read the textbook material. It has been already provided to you. Thank you, students.